Shalom, my brothers and sisters in Yahuwah, our Elohim, and welcome to our midweek Bible study. Happy Yom Ravi'l. I think I'm pronouncing that right. It means fourth day in Hebrew, in Abarith. All right. Well, gang, we're halfway through the week, and welcome. I hope you all are having a good week, and now we're ready to study Yah's Word. And we're going to go ahead and continue our journey through Melakim Bet. That's 2 Kings, okay? And we'll be doing chapters 4, 5, and 6 this evening. So go grab your Bibles, so that way you can read along. Because it's very important that you read along with me. Don't just listen to what I'm reading. You need to read along too. Eyes to see, ears to hear, okay? Alright, get yourself something to drink and grab your favorite pillow and get all comfy on the couch and we'll get started this evening, okay? Alright, I'm going to grab a drink of water real quick myself and we'll get started. The ice doesn't last very long. Melts pretty quick. Even in that Yeti, it melts pretty quick. Alright, gang. You ready? Melakim Bet, which is 2 Kings, chapter 4. If you need some extra time, go ahead and stop the video. We'll be right here waiting for you. Alright? Alright. Chapter 4. And a certain woman of the wives of the sons of the prophets cried out to Elisha, saying, Your servant my husband is dead, and you know that your servant feared Yahuwah, and the leader has come to take my 2 sons to be his slaves. So her husband was of the sons of the prophets, and he died. And now the leader is coming to take away her 2 sons as slaves for the debts that she has. Because she doesn't have any way to pay her debts now, so whoever is that she's indebted to is coming to take away her sons. Verse 2. And Elisha said to her, What should I do for you? Inform me. What do you have in the house? And she said, Your female servant has none at all in the house except a pot of oil. And he said, Elisha, he said, Go borrow vessels from everywhere, from all your neighbors, empty vessels. Do not get a few. And when you have come in, you shall shut the door behind you and your sons, then pour it into all those vessels and set aside the filled ones. Okay? So he told her, go around to your neighbors and borrow as many jugs, jars, and whatever you can get your hands on, and take that oil and put it into every single one that you can get your hands on until they're all full. Okay? Verse 5. So she went from him and shut the door behind her and her sons, who brought the vessels to her, and she poured it out. And it came to be, when the vessels were filled, that she said to her son, Bring me another vessel. But he said to her, There is not another vessel. And the oil ceased. So as soon as they ran out of vessels, that was it. The oil was gone. Ooh, sorry about that. The smoke is still really bad in our valley. Really bad from these fires. Every morning it settles down into the valley because of the inversion. Whew. Set your sinuses on fire, I swear. Enough about that. Let's get back to this. Verse 7. So she went and informed the man of Elohim, and he said, Go, sell the oil and pay your debt, and you and your sons live on the rest. So take all those jugs of oil that you just filled up and go sell them. And whatever you get out of it, you and your sons just live off of that. Verse 8. And it came to be on a day that Elisha went to Shunem, where there was a prominent woman, and she took hold of him to eat some food. And it came to be, as often as he passed by, that he turned in there to eat some food. So this lady came out and said, hey, come on in here and we'll get something to eat for you and you can settle in and rest your feet. So every time he came by there, because he was going to Mount Carmel, where he had, the sons of the prophets all set up there, every time he passed through there, she invited him in for some food. Verse 9, and she said to her husband, look, I know that this is a set-apart man of Elohim, who passes by us continually. Please, let us make a small upper room on the wall, and let us put a bed for him there, and a table, and a chair, and a lampstand. And it shall be, whenever he comes to us, let him turn in there. So that way he's got a place to rest. He can put his feet up, and he can sleep a little bit while he's on his journey. Okay? Verse 11. And it came to be on a day that he came there, and he turned into the upper room, and laid down there. And he said to Gehazi, his servant, call this Shunammite woman. So he called her, and she stood before him. And he said to him, to Gehazi, please say to her, look, you have gone to all this trouble for us. What is there to be done for you? Should I speak on your behalf to the sovereign, or to the commander of the army? And she answered, I am dwelling among my own people. So he asked her, you did all this nice stuff for us. What can we do for you? And he was connected, because he had all the sovereigns coming to him. All the kings were coming to him to ask him his advice about stuff like this. So Elisha was connected. So he's asking this lady, hey, if you need something, I've got some pull with the king. I've got some pull with the head of the army. What can I do to help you out? You've done all this nice stuff for me. Verse 14, and he said, what then is to be done for her? And Gehazi answered, well, she has no son, and her husband is old. And he said, call her. So he called her, and she stood in the doorway. Verse 16, and he said, about this appointed time next year you shall embrace a son. And she said, no, my master, man of Elohim, do not lie to your female servant. And the woman conceived, and bore a son, when the appointed time had come, of which Elisha had spoken to her. So Elisha was like, hey, you don't have any children. How about a son? And she's like, no, that's not going to happen. That laughing inside. Like Sarah laughing. Guess what? She had a son. Okay, verse 18. And the child grew, and it came to be on a day that he went out to his father, to the reapers. And he said to his father, my head, my head. And he said to a servant, take him to his mother. So he took him and brought him to his mother, and he sat on her knees till noon, and died. I wonder what happened to his head. Verse 21. And she went up and laid him on the bed of the man of Elohim, and shut the door on him, and went out. And she called to her husband, and said, please, send me one of the young men, and one of the donkeys, so that I hurry to the man of Elohim, and return. And he said, her husband, why are you going to him today? It is neither the new moon, nor the Sabbath. And she said, it is well. And she saddled the donkey, and said to her servant, drive and go, do not slow down, except I speak to you. So she got up on the donkey, and the servant grabbed a hold of the reins and took off with her. So don't slow down, just keep going. Verse 25, and she went, and came to the man of Elohim at Mount Carmel. And it came to be, when the man of Elohim saw her at a distance, that he said to his servant Gehazi, see, the Shunammite woman. Please run now to meet her, and say to her, is it well with you? Is it well with your husband? Is it well with the child? And she answered, "It is well." So Gehazi went running down there, and he was like, "Is everything okay?" And she was like, "It's okay. It's okay. Let me speak. Let me go up there, okay? Just hold off." Verse 27, and she came to the man of Elohim at the hill, and she took hold of him by the feet. But Gehazi came near to push her away. But the man of Elohim said, "Leave her alone, for her being is bitter in her, and Yahuwah has hidden it from me, and has not revealed it to me." So Elisha's like, "Whoa, Gehazi, hang on. She's got some problems going on here. She's highly troubled. Her soul, her being is very bitter, and Yah hasn't told me anything about any of this. So just, whoa, hang on, Gehazi." Verse 28, and she said, "Did I ask a son of my master? Did I not say, 'Do not deceive me'?" So she's saying, I did not ask you for a son. And when you told me I was going to have a son, I was like, don't lie to me. Verse 29, and he said to Gehazi, "Gird up your loins, and take my staff in your hand, and go. When you meet anyone, do not greet him, and when anyone greets you, do not answer him, and you shall lay my staff on the face of the child." So just like the staff of Yah that Moshe had, he's handing Gehazi his staff, hoping that that's going to have enough of Yah's horsepower in it to revive the child. Don't say nothing to anybody. Don't acknowledge anybody. Don't do anything. Just take my staff and go lay it on the child's face. Verse 30, and the mother of the child said, "As Yahuwah lives, and as your being lives, I do not leave you." And he rose and followed her. And Gehazi went on ahead of them, and he laid the staff on the face of the child. But there was no voice, and there was no hearing. So he went back to meet him, and report to him, saying, "The child has not awakened." So look, boss, the child didn't revive. He's still dead. The staff thing didn't work. Verse 32, and Elisha came into the house, and saw the child was dead, lying on his bed. And he went in, and shut the door behind the two of them, and prayed to Yahuwah. And he went up and lay on the child, and put his mouth on his mouth, and his eyes on his eyes, and his hands on his hands, and stretched himself out on the child. And the flesh of the child became warm. Warmed him up because he was cold, dead and cold. Verse 35, and he returned, and walked back and forth in the house, then went up and stretched himself on him. And the child sneezed 7 times, and the child opened his eyes. And he called Gehazi and said, "Call this Shunammite." So he called her, and she came in to him, and he said, "Pick up your son." Then she went in, and fell at his feet, and bowed herself to the ground, and picked up her son, and went out. And Elisha returned to Gilgal, and the scarcity of food was in the land, and the sons of the prophets were sitting before him. And he said to his servant, "Put on the large pot, and cook stew for the sons of the prophets." So now the story's kind of changing directions. The Shunammite's woman, her son's okay, and he headed back to Gilgal, and now we're going to deal with something else. Famine. Yeah, that happens quite a bit in the Bible. Yep, sure does. That's why you need to stock up. Do like Joseph. Stock up some extra stuff. Verse 39, and one went out to the field to gather plants, and found a wild vine, and gathered wild cucumbers from it, filling the skirt of his garment, and came and sliced them into the pot of stew, though they did not know what they were. So he found some kind of plant out in the field. They looked like cucumbers. So he grabbed them all up, brought them over, and chopped them up and threw them in the stew. Verse 40, they then served it to the men to eat. And it came to be, as they were eating the stew, that they cried out and said, "O man of Elohim, there is death in the pot." and they were unable to eat it. So whatever it was that he picked up out of the field, it wasn't so very good. It was making him sick. Verse 41, and he said, man of Elohim, Elisha, and he said, then bring some flour. And he put it in the pot, and said, serve it to the people to eat. And there was no evil matter in the pot. So Elisha had him put some flour in it, that he probably asked Yahuwah, hey, let's fix this for everybody because they're starving to death and we need some food. So flour, bread, the bread of life. Okay, I see a connection. Do you? Verse 42, now a man came from Baal Shalishah, and brought the man of Elohim bread of the firstfruits, 20 loaves of barley bread, and newly ripened grain from his knapsack. And he said, give it to the people to eat. And his servant said, what? Do I set this before 100 men? And he said, give it to the people to eat. For thus said Yahuwah, eat, and have some left over. And he set it before them, and they ate, and had some left over, according to the word of Yahuwah. Geez, that sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? When Yahusha took the 5 loaves and the fish and served thousands of people with it and had leftovers? A little bit of reoccurring action going on there with some bread. Chapter 5. And Naaman, commander of the army of the sovereign of Aram, was a great man in the eyes of his master, and highly respected, because by him Yahuwah had given deliverance to Aram, and he was a brave man, but leprous. And the Arameans had gone out on raids, and had brought back captive a young girl from the land of Yasharel, and she served the wife of Naaman. And she said to her mistress, if only my master were with the prophet who is in Shamaron, then he would recover him of his leprosy. So this girl of the tribes of Yasharel that they captured and brought back and was serving Naaman's wife said, hey, I know where there's a prophet, but he's going to have to go and talk to him up here. Probably heal him. In Shamaron. Verse 4, and Naaman went in and reported to his master, saying, thus and thus spoke the girl who is from the land of Yasharel. And the sovereign of Aram said, go, enter, and let me send a letter to the sovereign of Yasharel. And he went, and took with him 10 talents of silver, and 6,000 pieces of gold, and 10 changes of garments. And he brought the letter to the sovereign of Yasharel, which said, and now, when this letter comes to you, see, I have sent Naaman, my servant, to you, so that you shall recover him of his leprosy. So he sent him to the king of Yasharel. Verse 7. And it came to be, when the sovereign of Yasharel read the letter, that he tore his garments and said, am I Elohim, to kill and keep alive, that this man sends a man to me to recover him of his leprosy? For consider now, and see how he is seeking an occasion with me. So the king of Yasharel, I'm not sure who the king is of this at this point. It just says the sovereign of Yasharel. I'm not sure. But he's saying, what am I supposed to do with you? I'm not Yahuwah. I can't heal you. I can't keep you alive. What do you want me to do about all this? Verse 8. And it came to be, when Elisha, the man of Elohim, heard that the sovereign of Yasharel had torn his garments, that he sent to the sovereign, saying, why have you torn your garments? Please let him come to me, so that he knows that there is a prophet in Yasharel. So Elisha sent him a letter saying, what are you doing? Why are you tearing your garments and having a temper tantrum? Just send him up here to me. Crazy kings. Verse 9, so Naaman came with his horses and chariot, and he stood at the entrance of the house of Elisha. And Elisha sent a messenger to him, saying, Go, and you shall wash 7 times in the Jordan, that your flesh might be restored to you, and be clean. So Elisha, he didn't even go down and talk to him. He just sent one of his servants down to talk to him and tell him, go down to the Jordan, wash 7 times, you'll be okie dokie. All right, verse 11. But Naaman became wroth, and went away and said, See, I said to myself, he would certainly come out to me, and stand and call on the name of Yahuwah, his Elohim, and wave his hand over the place, and recover the leprosy. So Naaman's looking for a magician. He's expecting Elisha to come out and go, hocus pocus, holla hoo, here you go, you're all you. You know, he's just a pagan, total pagan. Verse 12. Are not the Arbanah and the Pharpar, the rivers of Damasek, better than all the waters of Yasharel? Aren't these rivers that are in Damasek better than Yasharel? Could I not wash in them and be clean? And he turned and went away in a rage. And his servants came near, and spoke to him, and said, My father, if the prophet had spoken to you of a great matter, would you not have done it? How much more then, when he says to you, Wash and be clean? So his servants came to him and said, Look, if he'd have told you to go out in the middle of the desert and dance around naked and do all kinds of crazy stuff, wouldn't you have done it? So what's the difference? Go down and take 7 baths in the Jordan, and let's see what happens. Verse 14. Then he went down and dipped 7 times in the Jordan, according to the word of the man of Elohim, and his flesh was restored like the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. Oh boy, he did what he said. Elisha told him, go down and take 7 baths in the Jordan, and everything will be okay. And he listened and went down and did what Elisha said. Verse 15. And he returned to the man of Elohim, he and all his company, and came and stood before him and said, See, now I know that there is no Elohim in all the earth except in Yasharel. And now please take a gift from your servant. So he's had an epiphany. He realized that Yahuwah is the only Elohim, that there is no other Elohim in all the earth except for in Yasharel. He's had an epiphany. He's had an awakening to Yahuwah. Verse 16. But he said, Elisha said, As Yahuwah lives, before whom I stand, I do not accept it. And he pressed on him to accept it, but he refused. Elisha refused. Then Naaman said, If not, please let your servant be given 2 mule loads of earth, for no longer is your servant going to make a sending offering and slaughterings to other mighty ones, but to Yahuwah. So he has had a serious awakening. He's not going to make any other ascending offerings to any other of these idols that the heathens are making offerings to, only to Yahuwah. So he wants to take back 2 big old mule sacks full of dirt from Yasharel so that he can build an idol on top of them, thinking that that's where he's supposed to go to make his sacrifices. Verse 18. Yahuwah grant forgiveness to your servant in this matter, when my master goes into the house of Rimmon to worship there, and he leans on my hand, and I bow down in the house of Rimmon. When I bow down in the house of Rimmon, Yahuwah, please grant forgiveness to your servant in this matter. He's like, look, my boss, the king, he likes me to go into their heathen temple, and he leans on me while he bows down and makes me bow down too. Please, have Yahuwah forgive me of my sins, because I'm not praying to any other Elohim, only Yahuwah. He is the only Elohim. So when Yahweh looks down and sees me doing this stuff, please don't take it seriously. Don't think I'm doing anything wrong, because I'm not. He doesn't want his leprosy back. Verse 19. Then he said to him, Elisha said to him, go in peace. And when he had gone from him some distance, but Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of Elohim, said to himself, look, my master has spared Naaman, this Aramean, while not receiving from his hand what he brought. But as Yahweh lives, I shall run after him and take whatever from him. So Gehazi's being greedy. Oh boy, because Elisha didn't accept any gifts from Naaman, Gehazi's like, I can't believe he didn't take anything. I'm going to go take advantage of this situation. Uftah. Verse 21. And Gehazi pursued Naaman, and when Naaman saw him running after him, he came down from the chariot to meet him, and said, is there peace? And he said, Gehazi said, peace, my master has sent me, saying, look, even now 2 young men of the sons of the prophets have come to me from the mountains of Ephraim. Please give them a talent of silver and 2 changes of garments. So Gehazi's lying. He's telling Naaman that all this big old blah blah lie that Elisha said this and said that and said something else to try to get some money out of Naaman. Yikes. Verse 23. And Naaman said, please accept 2 talents. And he urged him, and bound 2 talents of silver in 2 bags, with 2 changes of garments, and handed them to 2 of his servants, and they bear them ahead of him. So Naaman loaded them down, 2 servants of his, with all this silver and these garments, and said, go back with Gehazi, carry this stuff back for him. Verse 24. And when he came to the high place, he took them from their hand, and stored them away in the house, and let the men go. And they went. So Gehazi snuck them into his house on the high place, and hid them in there. Verse 25. And he went in and stood before his master, and Elisha said to him, where did you go, Gehazi? And he said, your servant did not go anywhere. Lies, more lies. Verse 26. But he said to him, did not my heart go with you when the man turned back from his chariot to meet you? Is it time to accept silver and to accept garments and olive trees and vineyards and sheep and cattle and male and female servants? So Elisha's like, look, Gehazi, I knew what you did. I knew what you did. I know you. I knew what you did. So now is the time to get rich and fat off of somebody else's wealth. Verse 27. So let the leprosy of Naaman cling to you and your descendants forever. And he went out from him as leprous as snow. Elisha cursed him for doing what he did. Leprosy for him and all of his generations after him. Okay, chapter 6. And the sons of the prophets said to Elisha, see, the place where we dwell with you is too small for us. Please let us go to the Jordan, and let every man take a log from there, and let us make there a place to dwell. And he answered, go. Elisha's like, yeah, go ahead. Go grab some lumber. Come on back. We'll make you a little place to live. It's all good. Verse 3. Then the one said, please undertake to go with your servants. And he said, Elisha said, I shall go. And he went with them, and they came to the Jordan, and they cut down trees. And it came to be, as one was cutting down a tree, that the iron axe head fell into the water. And he cried out and said, O my master, for it was borrowed. So they're chopping down trees, and he went to chop down a tree, and the axe head flew off the handle and fell in the river, and he's all upset because they had borrowed it. They didn't have any money to just go buy new tools if they dropped something or lost something. Somebody let him borrow this axe, and he lost the head, and he doesn't know how he could replace it. Verse 6, and the man of Elohim said, where did it fall? And he showed him the place. And he cut off a stick, and threw it in there, and made the iron float. And he said, pick it up. And he reached out his hand and took it. And the saw, okay, now we're changing gears again. We're done picking up the axe out of the water. We're going in a different direction now. And the sovereign of Aram was fighting against Yasharel, and took counsel with his servants, saying, my camp is in such and such a place. So, after all that stuff with Naaman went down, now the sovereign of Aram is fighting with Yasharel. It's interesting. Verse 9, and the man of Elohim sent to the sovereign of Yasharel, saying, be on guard, do not pass this place, for the Arameans are coming down there. The sovereign of Yasharel then sent to the place of which the man of Elohim had spoken to him, and warned him, so that he was on his guard there not once, and not twice. So now the sovereign of Yasharel got a heads up from Elisha, so now he knows where the camp is going to be. Verse 11, and this greatly troubled the heart of the sovereign of Aram. And he called his servants and said to them, declare to me, who of us is for the sovereign of Yasharel? Look, you guys, we got a traitor amongst us. Who is it? Verse 12, and one of his servants said, none, my master, O sovereign, for Elisha, the prophet who is in Yasharel, declares to the sovereign of Yasharel the words that you speak in your bedroom. Look, king, Elisha knows everything that's going on, and he's telling the king of Yasharel what you're doing. Verse 13, and he said, the king of Aram, go and see where he is, so that I send and get him. And it was reported to him, saying, see, he is in Dothan. And he sent horses and chariots and a great army there, and they came by night and surrounded the city. And the servant of the man of Elohim rose early and went out, and saw an army surrounding the city with horses and chariots. And his servant said to him, O my master, what do we do? I wonder if this is Gehazi. It just says the servant of Elisha. It doesn't say if it's Gehazi or not. So I wonder if this is a different servant, or if it's still Gehazi. I don't know, it's just a little thing, but it made me wonder. Verse 16, and he answered Elisha, do not fear, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them. And Elisha prayed and said, Yahweh, I pray, open his eyes and let him see. And Yahweh opened the eyes of the young man, and he looked and saw the mountain covered with horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. Yahweh of hosts, Yah sent his army to protect Elisha. Yahweh of hosts. Yeah, he sent his army. How cool would that be? Verse 18, and when they came down to him, Elisha prayed to Yahweh and said, strike this nation with blindness, I pray. And he struck them with blindness, according to the words of Elisha. And Elisha said to them, this is not the way, nor is this the city. Follow me, and let me bring you to the man whom you seek. But he led them to Shomeron. And it came to be when they had come to Shomeron, that Elisha said, Yahweh, open the eyes of these men, so that they see. And Yahweh opened their eyes, and ye looked, and saw that they were in the midst of Shomaron. Where are we at? Verse 21. And when the sovereign of Yasharel saw them, he said to Elisha, My father, should I strike? Should I strike? So the king of Yasharel is calling Elisha, my father, and he's asking him, what do I do? Do I fight? What do I do? Verse 22, but he said, Do not strike. Do you strike those whom you have taken captive with the sword and your bow? Set food and water before them, and let them eat and drink, and go to their master. So he made a great feast for them, and after they ate and drank, he let them go, and they went to their master. And the band of Armenian raiders came no more to the land of Yasharel. And after this it came to be that Ben-Hadad, the sovereign of Aram, mustered all his army, and went up and besieged Shomaron. So is this a different sovereign of Aram? Ben-Hadad, they're mentioning his name. The other sovereign, they didn't mention his name. So it makes me wonder if this isn't another different sovereign, because it seems like it's been some time. Okay, verse 25. And there was great scarcity of food in Shomaron, and see, they besieged it, until a donkey's head went at 80 pieces of silver, and 1/4 of a cob of dove droppings for 5 pieces of silver. So the food situation was so bad in Shomaron that a donkey's head went at 80 pieces of silver, just for a head, or 1/4 of a cab of dove droppings, of dove poop, for 5 pieces of silver. That's pretty bad. Verse 26, and it came to be as the sovereign of Yasharel was passing by on the wall, a woman cried out to him, saying, Help my master, O sovereign. And he said, If Yahweh does not help you, where do I find help for you? From the threshing floor, or from the winepress? So the king of Yasharel is like, what am I going to do for you? If Yahweh is not doing anything for you, what am I supposed to do? Verse 28, and the sovereign said to her, What is troubling you? And she answered, This woman said to me, Give your son, and let us eat him today, and tomorrow we eat my son. So we cooked my son and ate him, and I said to her on the next day, Give your son, and let us eat him. But she has hidden her son. And it came to be, when the sovereign heard the words of the woman, that he tore his garments. And as he passed by on the wall, the people looked, and saw the sackcloth on his body underneath. And he said, Elohim do so to me and more also, if the head of Elisha, son of Shaphat, remains on him today. So the king of Yasharel is calling for Elisha's head, because he thinks that he caused all this by deceiving the army of the Arameans and taking them captive and making Yasharel, the king of Yasharel, feed them all and send them on their way. He's thinking Elisha caused all this. Verse 32, and Elisha was sitting in his house, and the elders were sitting with him, and the sovereign sent a man ahead of him. But before the messenger came to him, he said to the elders, Do you see how this son of a murderer has sent someone to take away my head? Look, when the messenger comes, shut the door, and hold him fast at the door. Is not the sound of his master's feet behind him? While he was still speaking with them, then see, the messenger came down to him, and he said, Look, this evil is from Yahweh. Why should I wait for Yahweh any longer? And that's the end of chapter 6. Gonna have to wait until Shabbat to hear the rest of that story. cliffhanger, hanging by these four fingers. Unless if you want to read ahead, of course. If you want to read ahead, feel free. We should be in the Word every day. We should be seeking the wisdom and knowledge of Yahuwah, our Elohim, every day. We should be in the Word. We should be reading Torah every day so that we don't forget it. Keep it in the frontlets of your eyes so that way we don't forget. It's always being refreshed in our mind. Teach your children. When you're reading, read to them. Help them to understand. Explain it to them. Now that we've been all the way from Genesis to where we are now in 2 Kings, anyone that is following these studies should have a pretty good idea of what we're supposed to be doing and how we are supposed to be following the covenant. Yeah. Go back. Reread Torah. Read it to your children so that they understand, so that they know this is how we're supposed to do it. And practice it openly. Practice the high holy days. Practice the feast days. Practice the Shabbat. Keep the Shabbat holy. Okay? We need to be doing these things. We need to be following Yahuwah on his path, on the way. Okay? I know I harp on that a lot, but I think that we need to be reminded of it every week, and reminded that our children are the ones we're needing to be taught. We need to be practicing Torah also, but the children are the ones that need to be taught. And in order to teach them, we have to be the lead. We have to be the example. That's the only way they're going to know. Okay? Alright, gang. That's all I've got. Bless every single one of you that are seeking the knowledge and the wisdom of Yahuwah. Yeah. Bless you all. Alright, gang. We will see you again on Shabbat for our next study so that we find out what's going to happen next. It's a pretty good study, huh? Yeah, I like Kings. Kings is cool. Alright, gang. We'll see you then. Shalom.